Okay, Chavra, we're in the world of Klippas. Klippa city here, and we're finishing up the idea of Klippas and that Hashem conceals himself in this world as a way that we can find him. And therefore all the concealing is only for us to find Hashem. Because if there was nothing concealing God, would we have to find him? No, he would just be here. And therefore there would never be that journey of finding, which that's the name of the game, finding Hashem. But I want to tell you a story, a famous Maisa from the Baal Shem that was passed down to his grandson, the Degel Machen Ephraim, who quotes it in the Haftarah of Kisavai, famous Maisa. It's so important that you know this. That there was a king. You heard this one before? And the king, he wanted to offer the greatest gift in the kingdom, which essentially was himself. And he set up a system. This was a king who was a master of magic. He was a master in many of the arts. And he set up a system where all of the people of the land would come to him, and there'd be a series of walls. And each wall would get more and more difficult to cross over the walls. But as you crossed the walls, according to the difficulty of the walls, on the other side there were gifts, there were presents. And of course, when that announcement and proclamation went out, all of the members of the kingdom flocked to the capital to begin this great race of receiving the rewards and the treasures of the king. And the gun went off and the race was on, and the first wall was high and challenging, and people were trying to get over, and there was little knobs to put your hands, and then other people were falling, and then you'd make it over the wall, and wow, when you got over the first wall, it was nice. It was nice. There was some cocktails there. There was some, little buffet, a few carving stations. It was nice. Geschmack. And some of the Chaver just said, it's Kamaitzi Shalarav. Just stay right here. And many others realized that the bounty of the king was not limited to buffet and carving stations. They went on to the harder wall, and the harder wall just got more and more challenging. And it got more and more the higher and less things to hang on to. And then the walls became slippery. And as the soldiers and the great mighty ones of the kingdom got through wall after wall after wall, it just got harder and harder, but also the gifts became greater and greater. And as you got past those more amazing walls, so now it wasn't just carving stations, there was gold and there was jewels and there was people playing harp music, and it was fantastic, and it was so deep, and there was symphonies. And there were people teaching Torah, and it was wow, it was amazing. It got more and more pleasure, more and more beautiful. And many people just decided, why continue? Because some people were falling and perishing on these walls. And eventually it got so hard, and it was so challenging, that there was one wall that seemed just straight up to the sky with nothing to hold on to. And as you would find something just to grab onto, there was fireballs being shot down by goblins and lions and tigers and bears, oh my, and there was only two people left. There was the greatest warrior in the land, and there was a young boy. And the greatest warrior in the land was kid, you're crazy, you're going to die. And the kid said, but I have to. The king said, I have to. And he tried and he was dodging all the arrows, and all of a sudden he just closed and he just jumped. And he opened his eyes, and he was at the top, and he pulled himself over and he jumped to the other side. And it was quiet. And on the other side of the wall, there was nothing except a straight road, a path, with the king sitting on his throne at the end. The boy ran into the king's arms, and he said, I'm home. I'm home, Tati. But I just have one question. Why did you make it so hard? And the father said, turn around. And he looked back and there was no walls. They were never there. It was all an imagination. And what this means is after 120 years, we're going to look back and we're going to see there was never really any walls. They really were just an imagination. They're here, but they're not. They're here only to arouse a desire to chase you, Hashem. And therefore, if I can realize even now in this world at this time that all the walls, all the klippas of my life, and the things that obstruct me from finding Hashem, and all my depression, my anxieties, and all my deficiencies, and all my worries, and all my immaturities, my pettiness, that those are all ways of me seeking you, then even in the walls, you are there. And there really aren't any walls anymore. And it's not that I find you despite the walls, it's I find you because of the walls. And therefore there was never any walls. You were in them as well. This is what klippas are in their most secret sense. In the world now, we see them, they're real, but they're not. This Baal Shem Tov story, analogy, is one of the deepest there is. There's no walls. There's no walls. But we give a lot of power to them. Or we go past one or two, and then we say, I can't go past that one. Oh, if I go past that one, something might happen. So I'll just stay here comfortable in my, beach in the Bahamas, or the island that I just bought. Or nowadays it's like trendy to go to other planets and buy them as well, and hang out with the aliens. So I'll just go over there. I don't want to actually go and actually work on the real challenges of life. Which, how do we view real challenges? Rav Raskin spoke about it so beautifully. Ezu Gibor, the mighty one is? Not the warrior that gets over a wall and hangs out and eats all the delicacies. The warrior is the one that gets over the wall by conquering his lower animal instincts. You want to say something nasty to that person? Oh, I got such a good nugget of Lashon Hara. When you have that? It's like, ooh, I'll be the man. If I say this word right, ooh, I'm going to get such a rise out of everybody. And you hold back. I will not say that nasty speech to somebody. I will hold it back. That's the warrior. That's the young boy, by the way. The young boy represents the pure tzaddik inside of you. The innocent child inside you that all he wants to do is go back to his father's arms. That's called your soul. The mighty warrior is part of it. It's your body. It's a part of your soul. But the young boy is the pure, untainted part that just wants his father and will do nothing to stop. Because if my father says that I can find him, then there's no wall that can stop me. And I'll find you in those walls. I'll find you in those walls. So these are klippas, my friends. This is what klippas really are. All of this only happened after Adam essentially ate from the Eitz Hadas, and the world got into a state of walls. But now it's obstructed. It's challenging to see Hashem. Before Adam ate, everything was very clear. But now the snake went inside of him and things became very muddled. Our job is to remove the walls and see the king. Essentially, that's also what we're doing in this week's parsha, what Yitzchak is doing when he's digging the wells. What's the idea of digging wells? Digging a well is an interesting thing. There's a big wall called terra firma, the earth. But underneath that well, you know what there is? Living waters. Mayim Chaim. A bear Mayim Chaim. It's alive. It's life-giving. It's mamish. Anytime you want to know if there's life, you got to find water. And of course, water means Torah, and Hashem and the Torah are one. So Isaac is, so to speak, peeling back He's digging wells. That process of digging wells. And what happened? Those are the same wells that Abraham dug, and the Plishtim stooped up, covered them over. He said, I don't care that you put more walls in my life. I'll re-dig them. I don't care that I had a good day and all of a sudden now I see walls back in my life. I had a great chakras and now I just dropped. I feel like there was more walls got put up. I don't care. I'm going to re-dig. I'm going to take those walls away because I'm looking for the pure waters. I'm looking for you, Hashem, and I'm going to keep digging. A Jew never stops digging. I'm going to keep digging. I'm going to get to those secret walls. This is also the idea, there's nothing more Jewish than the bris milah, than circumcision. Essentially covering over. It's called the Atara in Hebrew. The Atara means a crown. That place is called the crown. It means Hashem's crown. That's why the bris, the covenant, is marked there. Because you want to be a king, you want to be somebody who's a king over your life, you need to know how to master that spot. Anybody who thinks he's a king but then gets messed up with that thing, he is the furthest thing from a king. We also call that area the Yesod. What does Yesod mean? The foundation. Right? The foundation of a building. If the foundation of the building is not good, you could have the fanciest tower in the world. What's going to happen to the tower if there's a problem with the foundation? The whole thing. Ooh. The foundation is everything. Even if the whole tower looks beautiful on the outside. That's why, notoriously, a person can have the greatest name in the world. He can be the biggest politician. He can be the man, so to speak. He makes one problem with the bris, makes one scandal with that thing, everything is gone. The foundation is gone. What do you mean there's one thing? No, everything is gone. Therefore, the covenant that we have, and Joseph came into Egypt and he gave everyone a bris. That was quite an incident. That was one of the ways of purifying, is saying that area you need to make pure. What are we essentially doing? Are we adding anything? No. There's one thick skin which represents the shalosh klipas tameas, the three impure shells. We take that off. Then there's a thinner skin that we peel back, essentially revealing the crown of Hashem. It's the same thing. Peeling back the klipas, revealing the crown. Digging the wells, revealing the water. Removing the walls, finding the king. It's all the same theme, my friends. Klipas are there in order to be pulled back to reveal the crown. These three klipas that we said are totally impure, the way to deal with it is just to throw it out. We can't deal with it. The fourth klipa is we call Noga, which means you could use it sometimes good, sometimes bad. We explained those are all kosher things. I think it's still up with it's mutter, it's unchained. It means God is accessible in that klipa. You don't have to reject it, you just have to use it properly. We explained that. That's also hinted to in the Brach and Shemon Esrei of Lam al Shinim. Or what are we doing? We're essentially throwing away the bad guys. And we mentioned, especially in Nusach Chabad and Nusach Arizal, 4 languages: Se'aker, Useshaber, Usemager, Vesachnia. The first 3 are a total rejection. The 4th one, Vesachnia, what does that mean? It means to subjugate it. Subjugating doesn't mean rejection, it just means calm down, stallion, calm down. The first 3 are the first 3 klipas. You can't get involved in notorious PIG. It's just not an option. You can't get involved with theft. It's not an option. Those need to be rejected. Those evil walls have to be rejected. The 4th, though, Vesachnia, is the klipas Noga, which means I just need to use this world properly. How do I use this world properly? I want to quote you from the Ramban, a famous Ramban. In the beginning of Parshas Kedoshim, one of the most famous Rambans. The Torah says, Kedoshim tiyu. Translation, and don't tell me, be holy.
You will be.
Okay, we'll say it. You should be holy. Now the answer is like, what does that mean? Like walk around with like a white robe, and like have candles everywhere in the dark, and like roll your eyes back. That's just like scary. And then everyone's just like, wow, he's so holy. What does it mean to be holy? Be holy. Okay. Says the Ramban, Nachmanides with an N. I suggest to look this up. Famous words of the Ramban. The Ramban disagrees with the Rashi. The Ramban says this mitzvah is actually not, and by the way, this mitzvah had to be for all of Klal Yisrael. Tell the entire, be holy. So Rashi says it's talking about sexual things. Whenever you find being careful in sexual matters, like we mentioned before, that's called Kadosh, being holy. The Ramban says, no, we already mentioned that earlier, so then what's this mitzvah? This mitzvah is actually talking about all of your life, what's called b'mekadesh es atzmecha b'muter loch, to make yourself holy in the things that are permitted. Klipas Noga. What do you mean? Like, it's kosher, Rabbi? So why can't I just go out and eat Wagyu steak every night and just guzzle wine, kosher wine? Why not? Bro, what do you want for breakfast? I don't know. Banana split. Yeah. With like caramel and this. And we had that yesterday. So let's get 2 today. Yeah. Is there anything wrong with that according to the Torah? Is it kosher?
Yes.
Show me in the Shulchan Aruch where it says that you can't have banana split one day and 2 the next day. And then have Wagyu steak, Kobe beef, every single meal, sliced meats. Why can't I just walk around with just eating, biltong 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, besides Yom Kippur and other fast days? Why not?
Not doing it for indulgence.
But it's kosher.
Sure it is. But you're doing it for your good.
It's indulging.
But it's kosher.
I get it.
It's kosher. I've got a kosher restaurant. You see how much the Hebrew letters on this thing? This thing is like, the rabbi blessed it. I love that one. It's like, don't worry, the rabbi blessed the food here. You can eat, it's okay. The rabbi blessed it. Okay, thank you. That's so nice of him to bless the food at this festive event. I'm so happy he blessed it. That's great. I'm very happy he did. So what's the Indian? Why do we somehow feel like, let me tell you something else. This is all in the Ramban. There's certain times of the month that a husband and wife are not allowed to be together. And by the way, all the sex therapists, the famous ones, have finally come to the conclusion that they realize that the best way to actually keep a marriage, the sparks going, is that they should take off a couple weeks a month from intimacy. Isn't that amazing? You just came to that? As if we haven't had that for 3,500 years. It's just like, what an epiphany. That it works, through our research, we came to that. Okay, that's called, Taras HaMishpacha. Taras HaMishpacha. But let's say during the month that a husband and wife are allowed and encouraged to be together. And the husband says, we're allowed to be together, let's just be together all day long. Is there anything wrong with that? I mean, all day long. Show me, is there anything against Jewish law? No, she's permitted. It's a permitted relation right now. So what's wrong with it? Says the Ramban. There's something called Shulchan Aruch. Everything which is Asur, Mutter, Pasul, Treif, whatever it is. Kosher, Tameh. And you're allowed to engage in it. The mitzvah of Kedoshim Tiyu, be holy, is now you're doing everything kosher. But how do you do it? How do you do it is the mitzvah called. Even the things that are permitted to you, you should do it in a nice way, in the right way, in the way that God had in mind at Sinai. Did God have in mind that we should all walk around with just kosher meat in our mouths, like you're talking, you go into a meeting, with Rabbi Rossman, just like, so 1 second. It's like, I said a bracha, Rabbi. It wasn't Shina Rishus that came in, I said it outside. Why do we feel like it's off? Because Kedoshim Tiyu says, even the things that are permitted to you, and I'm now quoting the language of the Ramban says, don't be, I love this language, a menuvel b'reshus HaTorah. A menuvel, it's hard to translate that word. It means like a lowlife. A dirty, low-life scumbag with the permission of the Torah. Hey, it's kosher meat. My wife's permitted. It's just, party all the time. Kedoshim to you means even the things that are permitted, that are mutter. If you don't use them properly, then you're sending them in the wrong direction. It's not going to be good. These are the klipas, my friends. Tomorrow we're going to finish the first parak, and Baruch Hashem, we should be zoicha to use the klipas properly, to see Hashem through the klipas. The ones that we have to reject them. But know that Hashem, as we're rejecting them, is trying to show us that by you rejecting them, those evil concealments, it's a way of finding me, because you're showing your loyalty to me. And the one of klipas Noga that we're allowed to use it with Hashem, to use it in the right way, especially in the way of eating, because the entire eating in the Garden of Eden, the whole thing happened through eating, not properly. To think about these things, and Bezrat Hashem with that will elevate all of the klipas in the right way back to their source and kedusha. We should be zayich to this. Amen. Amen. Yesher koyach.